I wanted to come on here and talk a little bit about transurfing and how I have been applying it to my life on a daily basis for the past couple of weeks. So working for me, starting to work was extremely stressful. I didn't think I was going to be able to work basically ever again because of all my health issues. I work as a physical therapist in the nursing home, and so kind of how I apply these principles to work is thinking of work as a pendulum. So a pendulum is basically an energy-based kind of structure that feeds off certain vibrations. It usually involves a group of people, a sporting event, or a work situation. A work is a pendulum, different types of jobs, even traffic jams are pendulums because it's a group, it's an energy, kind of a vibration of people all together kind of reacting the same way. People kind of feed off of other people in pendulums with the sole purpose of the pendulum getting all the energy. Pendulums feed off of negativity. So pendulums feed off of stress, anxiety, lack of confidence, irritation. When you're sitting there at the traffic light and you're super irritated and there's a big traffic jam and it takes you half an hour longer to get home from work than usual, the pendulum is going to feed off that irritation. You get these phone calls that you don't want to get and you get really irritated with them. That's another type of pendulum. Okay, all these pendulums, you have to deal with all these pendulums on a daily basis because they're all trying to kind of like suck you in. And I just think of it kind of like going like this and just trying to wrap you into it's kind of like this rhythmic kind of like sway. The pendulums are trying to basically feed off of this energy. So if you let these pendulums, if you let the work environment consume you, if you let it occupy space in your mind, if you let problems in your work consume you, if you let stuff that happens at work get to you and affect your real life, like say for instance you really need this job and it's the only job around and really feel like you have no other option other than to work there. That's a type of pendulum, and if you have that mindset of this is all or nothing, I need to keep this job, or it's going to be the end of the world if I lose my job and stuff like that, that type of thinking will feed the pendulum. That is going to feed this perpetuating negative energy of the work pendulum specifically. That's basically letting the problem consume you. Pendulums are going to feed off of that negative energy you give it. Say you have a relationship at work that isn't going so well, feeding off of that is going to make the situation worse. It's going to escalate the problem. You're probably not going to get along with the person even more than you already aren't because you're giving it energy. You're letting it occupy space in your mind. The pendulum is going to make it more complex than it really is. This is kind of like how I relate to just like kind of like a racing mind sort of thing. Like something happens and you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that happened. I did this wrong. I did that wrong. I should have done this. I didn't do that. All of these thoughts are going to actually make the problem worse. So say something happens, you messed up or you said something wrong or whatever the case may be you think happened. If you just ignore that and don't even let it affect you, you are basically stepping away from that pendulum. Typically, the problem will basically just resolve on its own. If you don't feed into the pendulum and the negativity that is driving that pendulum, you're over here and you are going to be like, okay, there's a problem here. I see that, in my mind there's a problem. At least there might not even be a real problem. So in my mind there's a problem, I'm not getting along with Susie at work or something. Okay, accept that, and when you're not dealing with that situation, then don't think about it. So, and don't wish it was different. So, oh, I wish it was this way. I wish I, could do this. Or say like a manager's not happy about something you do. If you worry about it and say, oh, I should have done that, I should have said this, again, you're feeding the pendulum energy that you don't need to be feeding it. So no matter what happens, basically, the key is to accept the situation as is and move on from there. If you get to a problem that you really are having an issue with, so say it's a work environment that you really just don't want to be in, like, at all. Like, it just doesn't fit your nature. You have a choice to either accept it and keep working there or leave and find a new job. There's a good example in the book, the Transurfing book. Nobody ever wishes a painting wasn't on the wall. So nobody ever, so you can apply the same thing to circumstances. Don't wish that situation never happened. If you don't like the painting, don't look at it. If you don't like your job or you don't like where you're working, don't work there. Do something else, find something else, experiment with other things. I feel like that is the most important kind of concept that I've learned in the past couple weeks, because there was actually a facility that I was driving to as a physical therapist. It was an hour away. Granted, I'm only PRN, I'm not working full time anywhere, so I'm only working as needed, so it'd only be 4 or 5 hours a week. But this building, I was not even excited about working at, and I literally told them, hey, I'm not coming in tomorrow. They were really upset with me. And then I canceled about 4 or 5 other times that I was planning on going to that building. That work environment I was not driving with. It was making my illness worse. I didn't even hear back from them. This is just a small example of something that, I thought I was committed and I had to do. And I backed out of it, and I was much happier, and I found PRN elsewhere. Let's go back to when there's an issue at your current work and you want to stay there and you don't mind the work. There's just something that's bothering you about the job. A good example would be like a manager telling me how to do things, or kind of like micromanaging. Good example this last week, you need to be more creative with patients. You're not saying the right thing to the patients to get them to come down to therapy or something like that. And I feel like I'm doing what I can, and I'm doing it in my own way to get my job done. I accept it and I say, okay. I basically don't let it faze me. Feedback, if it makes sense, I'll apply it, but if I don't agree with it, just say, okay, thank you, and move on. If they're not happy with what I do work-wise, that's okay. That's not my problem. Say I never get asked back to work at this facility again, I would find something else, I would survive. It's not the end of the world. I kind of the way I used to look at work was life or death. I had to be a perfectionist at everything I did. I had to make everybody happy. And the thing is, you can never always make everyone happy. You just can't. I found a new purpose with work. Rather than making the managers happy, I try to find more meaning in the work that I do. I've basically been trying to be extremely present at every single aspect I can be with the patients. I not only perform physical therapy with the patients, but I also try, when I can, to connect with them emotionally. Sometimes I have paperwork that I have to get done, and just being present with the patient, experiencing the moment as is with them, has been absolutely life-changing for me. This is how I stay out of a pendulum. I kind of don't really listen to what they say at work. If there's any issues or whatever, they'll let me know if I'm doing something wrong. It's basically whatever they need. I'm there for them for the hour, and if we walk, we walk. If we do some leg exercises, we do some leg exercises. I really want to make their lives easier, and that's not always doing what maybe management wants. It's not like I'm not doing physical therapy with the patient, but I'm just being very extremely present and mindful about what I'm doing with them, which is completely different than the way I used to look at things. So I think I'm an even better therapist than I used to be. You literally have to make your own pendulum, because if you fall suck into the work pendulum and the stress factor of it, then you won't want to go into work. Go into work thinking that you are just going to be doing your own thing, doing what you want to do, and be happy about the way you're contributing to basically society and these patients' lives. Feel fear with something or aggression, change it into joy or happiness. So for instance, when I'm walking a patient down the hall and they're a huge fall risk and they require some assistance in order to prevent falling, and I used to be so scared that somebody was going to fall and I was going to get in trouble. because all these patients obviously lack mobility, and you have to help them gain back their mobility in a safe way, and sometimes they require a lot of assistance. If they fall on the floor, you have to fill out a bunch of paperwork, blah, 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 blah. Instead of being fearful that these patients will fall, what I've done is say, oh my gosh, they're standing, I'm helping them so much, and like just being really happy for their progress, no matter what level they're at, that they're actually moving, and that I am helping in this situation. I am helping them gain back their mobility and their independence that they have recently lost. Make it more so I feel good about myself rather than feeling bad about the situation and worrying what could possibly happen. Being sucked into that pendulum role that I have to work and I have to have this job, and if not, it's going to be the end of the world, because it's really not. Also thinking if there's issues that arise, thinking that it's just another part of the road rather than an obstacle. So right now, for me personally, I'm still dealing with Lyme disease symptoms as I'm going to work, as I'm doing things, fatigued a lot of days, I don't want to get out of bed. Kind of what motivates me to do this is just accepting the situation as is, accepting what's going on, not freaking out about my symptoms. Hey, this is part of the journey, this is the part of what I'm going through, and that's about it. So just kind of like mellowing out about the situation instead of thinking that my illness and the NB protocol and everything like that is just such a huge, it's like this obstacle that I have to overcome. This isn't an obstacle I have to overcome. This is part of my journey. This is part of what I'm meant to be doing right now. And that's kind of like an Eckhart Tolle sort of thing, accepting the present moment. It is what it is. There is no attachment to it. There is no real bad or good things. I think the only bad thing that you could do is just kind of like repetitively think about the past or think about the future. If you're in the present moment, you're never going to be upset because it's just the present moment. It's just what is right now. And that's all there is to it. There's no regretting what you did before or wishing that this would happen in the future. It's kind of just living as is. What the pendulums will do, will try to suck you into these problems, and they'll try to basically get you wrapped into this problem, and there's a solution that needs to come in, and you have to work your butt off in order to get somewhere. That's not the case at all. Transurfing is about riding the waves. It doesn't mean that you're pretending the problem's not there. You're accepting the problem as is, using your intuition rather than thinking rationally. So if you think about a problem over and over and over again, and you're really trying to find a solution, and you're working at it really, really hard, and wanting this outcome or whatever, the solution's already with you. You just have to stay quiet enough and look within and be meditating more in order to figure out the solution. You don't need to overthink things or overanalyze. The solution is basically already within you. But do not get caught up in negative emotion, because that is going to feed into all the pendulums. Another thing is, if you're having problems with a person, you can think of them, having success as a person, keep it positive. If you know what they like to do for a hobby, think of them doing that hobby and just enjoying it, and enjoying the nice day gardening or something like that, whatever that person likes to do, rather than the intense situation that's going on. And giving that person that positive energy and that positive feel will help you gain what you want from that person, or gain a positive relationship with that person, and they won't even know why. They look at you a little bit differently when you give them these positive vibes. So if you are going to contribute to a pendulum, make it small. Just do what you have to do, but don't contribute that much, or help somebody. Be helpful, and kind of keep your energy low while you do it. Don't exert too much, and then you're still contributing to a pendulum, because ultimately you can't really escape all pendulums, but you can make your own pendulum. So that's kind of the whole point I was getting over this. Instead of getting sucked into the pendulum, make your own pendulum that you can find true success and happiness with. When you get sucked into the pendulum, it's going to be pretty consistent with negativity and how the strip goes, and it's just going to be the same thing over and over and over again. Don't fall for that. Create your own stuff. When you actually are no longer taken hold by a pendulum, you'll get your energy back. So, because pendulums suck your energy dry. If you're constantly worried about something, if you're constantly fretting about something, it's just going to suck your energy. So, by not getting sucked into the negativity and the anxiety and the worry, you're going to have so much more energy. And that energy can go towards healing, that energy can go towards your new goals, your new pendulum, your new life that you set up for yourself. But do not get sucked into that negativity role. But the thing is, and then when you do get sucked into the pendulum, because everybody's going to, I think the key is to recognize that you're being part of the pendulum right now. You know, there's days I go into work and I get so stressed, and by the end of the day I'm like complaining and like talking about my illness and like, you know, just saying how horrible everything is and that I'm so fatigued from working and that I never want to work this job again or whatever. But then I realize I'm getting sucked into the pendulum all over again, and I have to go home, I have to reassess how I've been acting, how I've been thinking throughout the day, and get back into that mindset where I'm not getting sucked into work. Essentially, I'm not going to get caught up in that, you know. I'm not going to get caught up in the role of work. I'm not going to get caught up in stress and anxiety about how it's going to go in the future. You know, it is what it is. Acceptance and just moving on. So that's kind of what I wanted to come on and say about how I've been applying Transurfing so far.